Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. I hope you and yours, if you are in the United States, I hope you're surviving this heat wave. I am losing bits and pieces of my soul every single day that the temperature is in the 3-digit range, so I hope you guys are keeping cool. I looked at my bookshelf the other day and realized that over the last couple month, I don't remember how long it's been since I did my last haul video, but over the last couple months-ish, I have accumulated a fair number of books. Let me see. I have 15 books here that I'm going to talk about. I know I have bought other books, but I've talked about them in other videos or I've already read them, so I'm not going to talk about them. But these are some of the books that I have accumulated since my last haul video that I haven't talked about or haven't read yet, so I'm going to talk about them just a little bit today. As always, the vast majority of my books are purchased used. I think that maybe like 75% of these I bought off of Pango. Pango is my drug, Pango is my god, Pango is my go-to place where I get books. If you're in the United States, because I'm pretty sure Pango is currently only available in the United States, I would check them out. It's a great place to get used books. I say used books, but it's just like a secondhand outlet, so there are plenty of books on there that are new or like new, and for the vast majority of the time you can get those books for way cheaper than they would be if you bought them new from a retailer. Yeah, some of these books were like $1, $2 off of Pango. I do have a couple books that I purchased new here, and I think I ordered those all from the UK. I'll let you know where I got them and how much the books were as I go through, although I did forget to check my receipts for all of my Pango books, so I'll just have to guess and you'll have to take my word for it. I'll start with the one that I got most recently. I picked up The Death of Vivek Oji by Akweke Emezi. I just read their book Pet. I talked about it in my June wrap-up video. Yeah, I talked about my June wrap-up video, and I loved Pet. That was a young adult fantasy, like dark fantasy book. I've always known that I want to pick up Akweke Emezi. I think I talked about them in my Pride recommendation video number 2, where I was mentioning authors that I haven't gotten to yet but wanted to read, and someone recommended in the comments The Death of Vivek Oji, and talking to people on Instagram, I've heard that this is an incredible book and that I'm probably going to cry and it's going to be very upsetting, or at least very emotional. I don't know about upsetting, but it's going to be something. I picked this up off of Pango, and I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I want to say it was like $3. I think it was about $3 on Pango, and it has like a tiny bit of wear and tear. Like you can see, well, there's cat hair on it and that's my fault, but you can see a little bit of wear and tear, but I don't give a fuck. I'm actually not even really sure what this book is about. I know that there is going to be something about queerness. I think there is a trans character in this book. I'm not positive. One afternoon in a Nigerian town, a mother opens her door to discover her son's body wrapped in colorful fabric. What follows is a tumultuous, heart-wrenching story of one family's struggle to understand a child whose spirit is both gentle and mysterious. In childhood, Vivek suffered disorienting blackouts, moments of disconnection between self and surroundings. As an adolescent, Vivek found solace in friendship with the daughters of the Niger wives, foreign women married to Nigerian men. But Vivek's closest bond is with Osita, a worldly, high-spirited cousin. As the relationship deepens and Osita struggles to understand Vivek's escalating crisis, the mystery gives way to a heart-stopping moment of both violence and exhilarating freedom. If there is indeed a trans character in this book, and I'm not wrong about that, then I'm going to guess that Vivek is that character, and the story is going to be about his life and what leads to his unfortunate and eventual death. So that's about all I know, but I'm really excited to get to this. I really loved Pet, so I'm excited to try some of their adult work. So I'm going to be reading this as a buddy read with someone over on Instagram. So yeah, I will check back and let you know what I thought about The Death of Vivek Oji. Next, I'll talk about a book that I picked up on a book crawl that I went to last month. I did talk about this book briefly in my reading vlog, but I just wanted to highlight it again. And that is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And I still have the papers from the book crawl just like stuck in this book, and I'm leaving it as is. I've talked about James Baldwin a couple times on this channel, and I've mentioned that I've been wanting to read Giovanni's Room. I've read a number of James Baldwin's other works, but I just keep, for some reason, I just keep orbiting Giovanni's Room, even though I've been wanting to read this. Set in the 1950s Paris of American expatriates, liaisons, and violence, a young man finds himself caught between desire and conventional morality. With a sharp, probing imagination, James Baldwin's now classic narrative delves into the mystery of loving and creating a moving, highly controversial story of death and passion that reveals the unspoken complexities of the human heart. This is once again a book that I don't know a whole lot about. This is actually the first time that I even read the back of the book, but I am pretty sure that this book is about a queer man, and he is falling in love with another man or is in love with another man. It's something like that. I don't really care about the specifics of this book. James Baldwin is just one of those authors who I'm trying to work through his catalog, and I'm interested in reading just about anything he puts out. So even though I don't actually know the premise of the book that well, I just don't care. Okay, on the back it says, a portrait of a man torn between a woman and another man. Groundbreaking for its time, it remains a transcendent novel. Like I said, I got this during the book crawl, and I got it at a secondhand store called, is it Act 2? I think it's called Act 2 Books. Yes, it's called Act 2 Books, and it is a secondhand bookstore, and it was so cute. They had the cutest bookshop dog there named Chase. I'll never forget his little body waddling out from behind the counter and plopping down at my feet for pets. Incredible time. I had to get something, obviously, so... Alright, next I'm going to talk about a book that I don't think I have ever heard anyone talk about. I've never seen it on BookTube. I've never seen it on Instagram. But it is a book that I really wanted to read, and that is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. First of all, please, let's just have a moment for how cute and tiny and petite this book is. Look at the size of this. I love this size paperback. It is so nostalgic to me because I feel like even when I was a kid, the paperbacks were like a little bigger than this probably, but I just miss a paperback this compact. I feel like nowadays they're way bigger than this. They're just so freaking huge and it hurts my little hands. When I think of my childhood, I think of big baggy cargo pants and books this size that I could fit into the pockets. Anyway, so about this book, this is actually the first book in a series. So I wanted to pick up this book and read the series because my roommate got me hooked on the TV adaptation by PBS. It's a British show by the same name, All Creatures Great and Small. And the book series follows a Scottish veterinarian named James Herriot who moves to the English countryside and goes to the small town to be a vet there. And it just follows the different things that he gets up to, the different animals he treats, the people he meets. And there definitely is an overarching plot and there's character arcs and progressions and all of that. But there is an episodic nature to the show, at least, where every week you have a different case, you have different animals, you have like a different lesson that is being learned from the different veterinary cases. So I'm very curious to see how similar or different the book is to the show. And like I said, the name of the vet in the show is James Herriot and the author is actually James Herriot. So I'm not really sure how closely the book follows the actual experiences of James Herriot, who he himself, the author, was a Scottish vet who moved to the English countryside and had these experiences. I don't know if this is going to read like an autobiography or if it's going to be more dramatized and fictionalized, but we will see. I am very excited because the show itself has so much charm and character and it's very earnest and really well written. I really love the characters and the relationships on that show. And so I'm hoping that the book and the rest of the series, I think there's 5 or 6 books in this series, I'm hoping that they are just as charming and just as fun and just as colorful. Join the world's favorite veterinarian, master storyteller James Herriot as he takes us into his wonderful, unique world for irresistible, heartwarming tales of animals and people you'll want to read over and over again. Take an unforgettable journey through the English countryside and into the homes of its inhabitants, four-legged and otherwise, with the world's best-loved animal doctor. Whether struggling mightily to position a calf for birthing or comforting a lonely old man whose beloved dog and only companion has died, Harriet's heartwarming and often hilarious stories of his first years as a country vet perfectly depict the wonderful relationship between man and animal, and they intimately portray a man whose humor, compassion, and love of life are truly inspiring. Please be good. Please be so cute. I love the TV show so much. I'm really hoping the books are just as good because I feel like if I enjoy the books, it'd be lovely to read the whole series because I think it could be one of those, cozy reads, a comfort read when I'm feeling like I just want something light and enjoyable and I'm wanting to move away from my dark literary fiction and traumatic fantasy books. So fingers crossed. I really hope I love this book. Also, if any of you have ever read the book or watched the series, please let me know because other than my roommate, I literally don't know anybody else who has seen the series and I literally don't know anyone who has read the books. Oh, and I forgot to say that I got this off of Pango for $2. I'm going to talk about the next 3 books together because I have decided that I want to try to read more of the International Booker Prize, whatever, you know what I mean, the Booker Prize winners. I want to try and read most, if not all of them. I do also want to read the regular Booker Prize winners, not just the international ones, but I think right now I'm going to start off with some of the International Booker Prize winners. This might sound stupid, but I'm actually not entirely sure what delineates the Booker Prize and the International Booker Prize because I feel like some of the books that I have read that have won the Booker Prize, not international, are from different countries. They're not all from the same country. So I need to actually look into what differentiates the International Booker Prize and the Booker Prize. Or if someone knows, please let me know in the comments. That might sound like a stupid question, but I would have assumed that the Booker Prize was hosted and, sourced from a single country and international was open to the rest of the world. But since, like I said, I've read winners of just the Booker Prize who are from different nations, I don't know what the parameters are. I've read more from the regular Booker Prize list. I've read Orbital, Seven Moons of Molly Almeida, Shugibane, Life of Pi, and The Bone People. So unless I'm forgetting a book, which I probably am, I've read 5 from the regular Booker Prize list and 1 from the international. I do also have a Girl, Woman, Other, like you can't see, but I have Girl, Woman, Other, which I'm going to be reading this month, and that is also a Booker Prize winner. So as part of this journey to read more of the international Booker Prize winners, I have picked up 3 books. I picked up The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy, At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop, and finally I have the most recent winner of the international Booker Prize, Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Xuanzi. Wait, so is this a winner of the Booker Prize or the international Booker Prize? Because this says Booker Prize now. See, I'm so confused. I guess this is a winner of the Booker Prize. This won the prize in 1997. So this won the Booker Prize in 1997, and this is a family saga that is set in India, and it follows a set of twins. I don't know, once again, a whole lot about this book, but I have heard that it has commentary on things like the caste system, on colonialism, on people's right to choose who they love and end up with. I have heard that this is written in like a maximalist style, that I've heard that she has incredibly descriptive and lyrical and ornamental prose, which I love. I love me just an overwhelming writing style. So I am excited to get to this, even though I have already screwed this up and this is not an international Booker Prize winner. This is a Booker Prize winner. At Night All Blood is Black. This one I haven't screwed up. This is indeed an international Booker Prize winner from 2021, and it is really short. This is a novella. It is only 144 pages. So this book is about Alpha, who is a Senegalese man who's fighting in World War I, and his best friend is killed during the war, and that death basically sparks a descent into madness. He starts losing touch with reality and ends up taking revenge on a bunch of German soldiers with what I have seen described as ritualistic killings. I've heard that it's a really cool blend of like African folklore and storytelling with an examination of things like war, like the cost of war, the mental toll of conflict, brotherhood. Alpha begins to lose touch with reality. Anxious to avenge the death of his friend, he embarks on a series of nocturnal forays across enemy lines with gruesome results. At first, Alpha's comrades admire his ingenuity and daring, but rumors soon circulate that the super soldier isn't a hero, but a sorcerer, a devourer of souls. Just how far will Alpha go to make amends to his dead friend? Peppered with bullets and dark magic, this remarkable novel fills in a forgotten chapter in the history of World War I. Blending oral storytelling traditions with a day-to-day horror of life in the trenches, At Night All Blood is Black is a dazzling tale of a man's descent into madness. I feel like this book has the potential to be really dark and disturbing and visceral, so I am most eager to get to this. Oh, I forgot to say, I got The God of Small Things off of Pango. Once again, my beloved Pango. I got this for, I'm pretty sure this was $3. At Night All Blood is Black, I also got off of Pango. I think this was a little more expensive. Like $5 or $6 probably. So, I mean, still incredibly affordable compared to a new price, but I think this was about $5 or $6. And the Taiwan Travelogue, this is the newest of the International Booker Prize winners. This is a 2026 winner. This sounds really cool because it is a fictional book, but from what I'm understanding, it's structured as though it is a non-fictional memoir of a Japanese novelist who has traveled to Taiwan in the book to research food, I think. Yeah, I think this Japanese author is going on this culinary journey, and this book is written like it is their diary or their just observations. While in Taiwan, this Japanese woman has some sort of dalliance relationship with a Taiwanese woman. I think this book is going to have a lot to say about colonialism. I mean, specifically Japanese colonialism, the very fraught history and relationship that Japan and Taiwan have had, queer identity, personal versus national identity. With sumptuous food writing, laugh-out-loud dialogue, and metafictional twists, this novel was impossible to put down. Taiwan Travelogue pulls off an incredible double act. It succeeds as both a delicious romance and an incisive post-colonial novel. I got this book new. I purchased this from the UK. I had it shipped over because I liked this cover more. Sometimes I'm really vain. I've mentioned this before, but I will go out of my way to get a cover or version of a book if I like the cover printed somewhere else better. And I really liked the very simple style of this cover versus the one that I've seen, I think is the US cover. I don't even dislike the US cover. I thought it was fine, but I just saw this and I don't know, I was drawn to it. I really liked the way that it looked. So I ordered this new at full price from was it Blackwell's? I think I got it from Blackwell's. So these are my 3 Booker Prize winners, and I think what I want to do at some point is, I don't know if I'll do a reading vlog or some sort of recommendation video where I go through all of the Booker Prize winner books that I have read and talk about them, just like in terms of enjoyment and also like accessibility, because I feel like a lot of the times when I talk to people who are interested in reading Booker Prize winners or International Booker Prize winners, they are curious, but I think there's a sense of how accessible are these books? Are they going to make me feel stupid? Like, most people don't want to pick up a book no matter how much it's raved about if they fear that it's going to make them feel like they're not intellectually up to the task of reading these books. And sometimes I pick up books and I'm just like, what? I feel like Booker Prize books sometimes seem to have that reputation amongst readers where they fear that, yeah, they're probably great books, but sometimes they are just like a little too intellectual or cerebral for people to enjoy. So I want to go through and read a bunch of these books, and I think I will make some sort of ranking or recommendations based on how much I enjoyed the books and also how accessible I think they are. So keep an eye out for that. I'm also going to talk about the next 3 books together because they are by the same author. I had mentioned recently in some freaking video, I don't know, but I was talking about how much I adore Mary Oliver. She is one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite poets, favorite essayists. I've never met this woman, but I just feel like, you know that line from Wuthering Heights where someone says, I think Catherine says, whatever souls are made of, his and mine are the same. Not to be dramatic and not to be weird and creepy and parasocial, because again, I don't know Mary Oliver, but based on her writings and the way she thinks and feels and approaches her life and her time on this earth, I feel like there are a lot of similar feelings that she and I have, and just stances that we may take on what life is and what it means to be in this universe. So, very long intro to say, I picked up 3 more of Mary Oliver's poetry collections. I have a few, and you know, I think slowly over time I do want to end up owning her entire catalog because they're good for my soul. I picked up Blue Horses, Red Bird, and Why I Wake Early. These are all pretty short, and Mary Oliver is definitely someone who I have no intention of rushing through. I think there are a lot of books that I like to binge, and even poetry collections that I like to get through pretty quickly. I love immersing myself and just kind of like powering through and getting a real feel. But I don't know, her books, her words, I like to slow drip feed myself all of that goodness. I like to take my time. So we'll see how long it takes me to get through these books, but I would love to do a reading vlog. It's like a slow, cozy, like mindful reading vlog where I read you a bunch of her poems and just share maybe some time reading outside or things like that. I don't know, just we're setting the mood, you know? I live right next to a state park actually, and I think I shared in one of my reading vlogs that there's a bench out there that I love to walk to and read on, so maybe I will do that. Maybe I'll take you guys hiking and read you some of Mary Oliver to soothe all of our broken hearts. So maybe I'll plan for once the summer is cooling off and we're heading towards fall, I will do a Mary Oliver reading vlog. I didn't even actually tell you what these books are about, but these are poetry collections. For Blue Horses, we have, in the stunning collection of new poems, Mary Oliver returns to the imagery that has defined her life's work, describing with wonder both the everyday and the unaffected beauty of nature. At its heart, Blue Horses asks what it means to truly belong to this world, to live in it attuned to all its changes. Humorous, gentle, and always honest, Oliver is a visionary of the natural world. I got this off of Pango. I got all 3 of these off of Pango, but this one I got off Pango, and I think it was like $4-ish, $4 or $5. And then Redbird, it says, Mary Oliver's 12th book of poetry, Redbird comprises 61 poems, the most ever in a single volume of her work. Overflowing with her keen observation of the natural world and her gratitude for its gifts, for the many people she has loved in her 70 years, as well as for her disobedient dog Percy, Redbird is a quintessential collection of Oliver's finest lyrics. Again, Pango purchase. I'm pretty sure this was about the same. I think this was like $5. And finally, Why I Wake Early. The 47 new works in this volume include poems on crickets, toads, trout, lilies, black snakes, goldenrod, bears, greeting the morning, watching the deer, and finally, lingering in happiness. Each poem is imbued with the extraordinary perceptions of a poet who considers the everyday in our lives and the natural world around us and finds a multitude of reasons to wake early. The next book I have to talk about is another book that I ordered from the UK, and that is A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing by Alice Evelyn Yang. And this book, I feel like people were talking about it a lot when it released, and I just haven't gotten around to picking it up. I haven't decided if I like this cover more or the US cover. I think they're both cool but have very different vibes. This is actually the second book after Taiwan Travelogue that has themes related to or plot related to Japanese colonialism, the history of Japanese imperialism. This one is a family saga, and I don't remember if it's supposed to be fantasy or magical realism. A dark folkloric family saga that moves through history to the present day, exploring the legacy of colonialism and how pain echoes through generations. Told through the eyes of 3 generations, A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing is a glimmering tale about forgiveness, inheritance, and the inescapability of fate. Shansi has not seen her father, her ba, in 11 years since he walked out of her life the night of her 14th birthday. But then she gets a call. There is a man on the porch of her childhood home, and he's asking for her. While Shansi wrestles with what she owes this near stranger, Ba unveils fragments of their family history, from his bloody days as a Red Guard during the Cultural Revolution to his mother's youth in Manchuria during Japanese occupation. Soon, Shansi finds herself plagued by strange visions. Fox spirits trail her on her evening commute, a terrifying jackalope stalks her nightmares, and a looming prophecy slinks ever closer. This sounds like it has the potential to be a gut punch. I actually have several books on my soon-to-be-read TBR that have to do with the legacy of Japanese colonialism or just the experience of Japanese colonialism. I have Beast Slinks Towards Beijing, I have Taiwan Travelogue, I also have Honey in the Wound, which you again can't see but is up there. So maybe I'll do some sort of reading vlog with those books, or I will do some sort of video just themed around books that address this part of history that I think most people don't learn about and just isn't taught or talked about enough. Speaking of Japan, next I have another book that I also picked up online. I had to ship from the UK because I liked this cover better. It came to me with A Beast Slinks Towards Beijing, but I bought this new full price from, I'm pretty sure it was Blackwell's. I have Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. I really love this cover. I just thought it was really fun and graphic, and I definitely like it more than that. It's like a haunted house kind of vibe on the US cover. I think I'll put it somewhere, but I didn't like that cover very much. I think this one is way better. But again, can we just take a second to talk about the size difference of these paperbacks? This is madness to me. This is a tome, this is a textbook, this is a weapon. This is a cute paperback book that I want to sit and flip through. I know that there are plenty of people who prefer the bigger paperbacks and feel that they are just easier to hold or prefer them for a number of different reasons, but Kylie Lee Baker is the author of Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazang, which I recently read and really enjoyed. This is another horror book, and this one is told through 2 different timelines, I believe. In 2026, there's a man named Lee, and in 1877, there is a female samurai named Sen. They are both having these strange supernatural experiences in the same house, just centuries apart. When Lee and Sen find one another through a door between their worlds, they're both looking for answers, but what they find in the creaking old house they share is beyond what either of them could imagine. I'm so curious about this premise and what this book is actually about, because with Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazang, it was so much about the historical horror that was real life experiences for people who were East Asian during the peak years of COVID. So I'm curious if this book is also anchored in some sort of real life history or real life events, or if this is just a purely made up fictional story about these 2 people in a haunted house. Either way, I have really high hopes because, like I said, loved Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazang. I loved the writing style, I loved the character work, I loved the creativity, so we'll let you know what I think. Another book that I picked up recently is Things in Nature Merely Grow by Yi-Yeon Lee. I had never heard of this book before. I think I'd seen this author's name floating around. I think she wrote something about geese, or there's a book that has the word goose in it. Let me see. But this particular book I had never heard of, but I went to a local bookstore. It's not that close, but I went to a bookstore in Princeton, New Jersey, and it's actually fun because this author, Yeon, she teaches at Princeton University and she lives in Princeton, so I thought it was kind of fun to purchase the book of this author in the town where she was living. But I picked this up and I read the back, and I felt like, based on what I read on the back, this little nonfiction book is probably going to devastate me. There's no good way to say this, Yeon Lee writes at the beginning of this book. There is no good way to state these facts, which must be acknowledged. My husband and I had 2 children and lost them both. Vincent in 2017 at 16, James in 2024 at 19. Both chose suicide and both died not far from home. Lee does what she can, doing things that work, including not just writing, but gardening, reading, learning the piano, and living thinkingly alongside death. To be in Lee's head is a rare privilege. She is a writer of elegance and clarity and is a deeply interesting thinker. Sounds like it's going to be a really intimate and painful and vulnerable memoir or exploration of this woman, this mother's experience of losing her children and what it is to love beyond loss or through loss and all of those things. So I'm braced. I'm probably going to cry at least a couple times. We're almost done. I just have a few books left. Next, I want to talk about Notes of a Crocodile, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to pronounce this author's name correctly, but I think it's Xiu Miaojin. This translated book sounds like a bizarre time. It's another shorter book. It's like 230 pages. I've seen this floating around in a few spaces. This little book is set in the 1980s in Taipei at this prestigious university, and it's a coming of age story about a group of weirdos who are attending the school. Told through the eyes of an anonymous lesbian narrator nicknamed Lazi, this cult classic is a postmodern pastiche of diaries, vignettes, mash notes, aphorisms, exegesis? I've never seen this word in my life. Exegesis? And satire by an incisive prose stylist and major counterculture figure. This seems bizarre, this seems experimental, this seems like it probably has a really cool structure and is going to leave me a little confused. My main question for this book though is what does it have to do with crocodiles? Because the title is Notes of a Crocodile and there are crocodiles all over the title, but nary a reptile has been mentioned in the entire back of this book. So I want to know who's the crocodile? I'm pretty sure I did end up ordering it from the UK because I had been scouring eBay and Pango for this book and I couldn't find a copy that I wanted, so I'm pretty sure I ended up buying this new. Second to last book is a book that I feel like I haven't heard about too much, but I have heard good things from the people who have read it. That is The Names by Florence Knapp. I also thought about buying this book from the UK because I like the UK cover better. I'll put it somewhere on the screen, but I ended up finding this on Pango and I think it was only like $3, like $2.50, so I was like, all right, I'll be smart, I'll be financially responsible like a boring adult. This is Florence's debut novel and it follows 3 alternate timelines. It follows the 3 versions of a life that a boy might live based on what his mother names him. So a single mother has her son, I think in like the 1990s or 1980s, and she has 3 potential names, and so we have 3 timelines that follow this child's life based on which name she might have given him. This is basically how I thought A Language of Limbs was gonna go when I messed up reading that book so badly. The way I thought that it was 2 versions of one person's life but was actually 2 different women. This book, I know going into it, it is actually the same person but 3 versions of that person's life. From the reviews that I have read / listened to, I've heard that this is incredibly emotional and tender and intimate, and it's very much about family and life. Spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternate and alternating versions of their lives, shaped by Cora's last-minute choice of name. In richly layered prose, The Names explores the painful ripple effects of domestic abuse, the messy ties of family, and the possibilities for autonomy and healing. Alright, the last book that I have to talk about today is a book that I think has baffled thousands of readers around the world, and I personally don't really know what this book is about. That book is none other than House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and once again, massive paperback. Why is this? How am I supposed to hold this book? Once again, hello? What the hell is this book even about? Can someone honestly tell me? I've just heard that this is an incredibly bizarre book, both in its story, its storytelling, its structure, its literal physical like structuring of the words on a page. All I really know about this book is that it is horror and that there is some weird house. And if you look in the book, this is what I mean by the physical structuring of the words in the pages is very strange. Like what is happening here? What is this? Hello? Is this really necessary? There are pages where there are actually words, but sometimes the words are mirrored. Like you need a mirror to read what's written on the page, or they're written like just the most bizarre structure. So I'm intrigued by the bizarreness of this book, but I'm also a little ready to be annoyed at it already. I just want to know if it was worth all those pages, if the strangeness is just performative, or if it's actually contributing to the content, if there is actual heft to why this book was made so strangely, or if it just wanted to be weird for the sake of being weird. I feel like sometimes people will praise art for just being experimental and for being a bit out there. And, you know, I love a creative person. I love someone willing to take risks. But I am just curious with this book because I feel like it has sort of a following and it has a bit of a reputation. I want to see if there is actual substance that accompanies the strange visuals and the performative nature of how bizarre this seems to be. We'll see. I will come back. I am nothing if not critical, so we will see how I feel. I've also heard people say that this book takes forever to read because of how weird it is, and I understand that, but also I feel like half the pages have like 3 words on them, so I can probably get through it in less time than a year. And that is the end. Those are all the books that I want to talk about today. These are the books that I've accumulated over the last couple of months. I feel like there's a fun hodgepodge of books that I've collected. We have poetry collections, we have horror, we have that really bizarre horror, we have literary fiction, we have cozy fiction, bunch of random stuff, we have the nonfiction. But if you have read any of these books yourself, let me know what you thought, especially the ones that I mentioned, like the All Creatures Great and Small. If you've read House of Leaves, or if you've read any of Mary Oliver's books, let me know what you thought of those. I am super excited to get to them. If I've convinced you to also pick up any of these books, then let me know so that I can rub my evil little hands together in satisfaction. Alright, well, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me talk. Happy reading. I will see you in the next one. Bye. I'll pick one and I'll take you... Another book that I recently picked up is Things Grow in...